But that's not all that Nova Launcher allows you to do. It allows you to overlap your widgets. So if you want to place it just so you're not constrained by the normal system grid. Now, without Nova Launcher, you cannot overlap your widgets, but with it, you absolutely can. So if I wanted to, I could put my analog clock over my digital clock. Why I would want to do that, I don't know, but you know, I actually do have my widgets overlapping because I like to center it. So for example, I've got this analog clock overlapping my torch widget, and then I can send the clock to the back so it's layered, and that way when I'm tapping on my torch, the torch will actually turn on and not activate the clock. The next thing that Nova Launcher can do for you is allow you to change the size of your icons, the color of the text, and the size of the text. So for example, you can actually have your icons as much as 150% of the normal size. You can make them small. I'm trying to drag it here. You can make them small, you can make them big. Now, if you have labels turned on so that you have text labels below your icons, then you can only make the text, or the icons rather, 105%. Now with the text, you can make it really, really big, really, really small. So I'm just basically using a slider to slide the text back and forth and make it whatever size I like. Now, if the white text isn't working for you, you can go into the color settings. You can make the text yellow. You can make it green. You know, and so on and so forth. So you can really, really, really make it your own. If you have trouble seeing reds, well, no problem. Or if you have trouble seeing whites, whatever the case, you can just totally customize that. Another thing that Nova Launcher does is if you install the plugin for unread counter badges, you can also customize the size of your unread badge, the color of this unread badge, and even the outline color. So I've got mine set as, instead of red with white, I've got mine set with purple and white, as you can see here on my badge. The next feature I love in Android is the read aloud feature in Google Play Books. In iBooks over on Apple's platform, when you get to the end of a page with voiceover on, it stops and you have to physically swipe to the next page. Not so with Google Play Books. Simply go into your book, enable the read aloud feature, and then once it gets to the end of the page, it will actually automatically turn the page. Now I'm actually going to demonstrate this for you, but just for copyright reasons, I'm going to blur the text and I'm going to turn the volume of the book way, way down. But here is how this works. So you get the idea. The next thing I love in Android is actually more to do with Samsung, and that would be Samsung's messaging app. Now I will say that Google's default messaging app is crap. Google Hangouts is awful. There's zero customizability. You can't even change the font size. So I absolutely hate that app. So don't even bother with that. But if you go with a third-party phone other than, say, you know, rather than going and getting a Nexus, if you go with like a Samsung or an LG or a Sony, you're likely to get a messaging app specific to that phone manufacturer. So Samsung's messaging app, not only does it allow you to change the font size by pinching and zooming with your fingers, you can also use your volume key to change your size as well. In addition to that, you can also go into settings and then display to change the background of your text messaging. So if the black background just doesn't work for your particular visual impairment, you can change it to white. You can change it to like a yellowy color, a cream color, blue with white fluffy clouds, and you can even choose a picture. I don't suggest that one though, because if you're anything like me, your text bubbles are going to completely eclipse the picture, but it's there for you if you want it. Another thing you can do is change the style of your text bubble. Now there aren't a whole lot of styles available, but the point is at least you can do it. In iOS you can't. You're limited to the blue or green and white text bubbles that Apple gives you. Next on the pros list is the Google Calendar. Granted, the font is not overly huge, just like my similar complaint of the iOS calendar, but for some reason I find the text on this calendar a little bit more easier to read. Now, if you flip your device sideways, which I'll do right now, all of a sudden, on the top part of your screen, you get large print dates, which I can read beautifully. So if you're trying to find a certain date, you don't have to squint at your screen like with the iOS calendar. If you don't feel like turning voiceover, or in this case, talkback on, you can just flip your calendar on side like this and go into the events that way. Now, granted, once you're in the event, the font isn't all that large. That's where voiceover or your magnifier or zoom feature or whatnot is going to come in. Now, if you flip the calendar back to vertical and you tap on an event, it actually brings you a beautiful color-coded listing with large print dates that I personally can read, as well as little calendar events such as holidays and whatnot. The font isn't overly huge, but if you look closely, the font is bold, it's high contrast, and I can easily read these with the magnifier. So I just think that the layout of the Google Calendar takes better advantage of the screen and has better fonts that, even though they're small, they can easily be worked with, you know, if you got zoom on or magnification and so on. The last benefit to Android, and this is actually probably one of the biggest ones, is the price. As I mentioned in part 1 of this comparison, iOS devices are hugely expensive. If you go with Android instead, you are going to save yourself anywhere from $300 to $500 on your device purchase, depending on how old the model of the phone is. Like whether you're going with the latest model or if you're going to go with a model that's 1 or 2 years old. And then of course it also depends on the size, you know, the storage you get, etc., etc. Okay, so this ended up being a crazy in-depth comparison, even longer than I even thought possible. So rather than splitting up into just 2, I'm going to actually split it up into 6 sections. So part 1 is going to be part 1 ABC, part 2 will be part 2 ABC. So if you've listened this far, first of all, thank you very much for sticking around. Number 2, give yourself a frickin' medal. And number 3, if you're on a desktop, click your screen in the middle there. It'll take you to the next part. If you're on a mobile phone, just go down to the description. I'll put the link below. Thanks again for watching. Thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. Here at Circle of the Blind Mice, I bring you these videos because I believe technology enriches the lives of those of us with visual impairments. My mission is to help you learn tech, use tech, and embrace tech. Please like and share this video to help spread the word to your fellow blind mice. And if you're new here, please subscribe for new videos every Wednesday. Thanks for watching.